Hello, I'm Sam Clift. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, I'm going to be doing drawing tip videos and tutorials as well as creative mindset magic. In this video, I'm going to be talking through how I created this red squirrel in coloured pencils. Just want to show you the details a little bit. So I'm going to be talking you through that, and I hope you find this video helpful and find some tips on how to create the fur texture and the beady glassy eyes. Let's get into the video. I'm beginning as I always do by going in with a base layer of luminance because it scrapes back really well, and then the eyes, of course, going in, adding dark sepia to begin with, adding some blue to the highlight, adding a little bit of burnt sienna and some red, and then just lastly going in with the black. I do that very last thing, and it just creates that lovely glassy shine, but it does tend to smudge if you do it too quickly. So going in with the base layer, as I said, and then going in with the burnt ochre, burnt sienna, terracotta, a little bit of warm grey to blend. I find this really helpful with fur. If you go in and use a lighter pencil in between layers, then you can soften the pencil strokes and you can create lovely soft fur before going back in then and adding more in-depth colours. There was so much going on in the squirrel's face, so many different colours. It was important that I just built those up gradually. And moving on to the next section of the little nose, you can't really judge all of the colours and tones until you've got darker parts in. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to put the greys in, the browns, the nugget I've used, or the nougat, I always call it nugget, into the greys of the kind of muzzle and the nose of the squirrel before I could really get a sense of how dark to go further up the face, in which case I was adding dark sepia over the top of the reds, a little bit of the Caput Mortuum violet, which is an amazing colour, and then darkening up with the warm greys going up into the 5 and 6. I always find that really helpful to glaze before moving on to the ears, going in with a really light pencil to begin with, just to make sure that I've got something to scrape back to if I need to use the slice tool. It's that guarantee. I think it's really important to have that there. It works so much better if you put a layer of pencil underneath, whether it's the Faber-Castell white. I find the luminance the best. So again, just building up the ears, going from light to dark as I would normally do through the face. I'm adding a little bit of pink, a little bit of magenta, using the slice tool here, as you can see, just to lift up some of the lighter tones. It's a really good natural way of getting the lighter hairs to show up over the top of dark. And then I'm just going into the middle of the ear, adding a little bit of cinnamon and going in with the Venetian red and the sanguine. I think that's a really brilliant colour, before darkening up the edges with the dark sepia and just seeing how it all works with the rest of the face. I went over the whole of the face again, just making sure that I could balance all of the values, getting the lovely vibrant colours as bright as they needed to be with the terracotta, with the burnt ochre, and then adding the lovely little sparkly bits of the ears, you know, the little soft tufts, which are so cute. But it's really important that I put everything else in through the face just to make sure that I'd balanced everything. Going in with the whiskers for the last, I've embossed the whiskers of the face so that the pencil doesn't go into it as easily as it would if I hadn't, and this really helps. So going back in with the burnt ochre, going back in with the warm grey, the terracotta, a little bit of cinnamon over the top, some nougat, the Van Dyke brown, the dark sepia over the top, leaving the white of the fur, and the slice tool again worked brilliantly if you're putting white fur that kind of goes over the top of light. You can see the embossed whiskers here. The pencil doesn't go into those crevices as well as they can. You can tidy them up a little bit with the Tombow. Going in with the warm greys into the white, because as we know, white fur is very rarely white. You need to add lots and lots of different greys in just to make sure that it looks more natural. Completely different texture of fur now around the body of the squirrel, very different to the face, much longer. So I went in with the burnt ochre and the terracotta, building up, blending with the cinnamon and with the warm greys, going in with the burnt sienna, the Caput Mortuum violet. You can see I'm blending with the greys in between. There was quite a grey shine on this, so a combination of the warms and the colds was really good to work in between the really bright red areas. And then I found that the Caput Mortuum violet worked really well over the top of the reds that I put in. So sometimes once you've got the next layer in, as you can see, this is right next to the face, you need to go back and just balance the face a little bit. I'm lifting up the lighter hairs with the slice tool in between. You'll get a little bit of texture on your paper, which is actually quite good because it means the pencil won't go into there as well as it did before. And then I'm moving down onto the leg, just mapping in the patterns of the fur first of all with a slightly darker pencil, and going in with the shadows with the dark sepia, and then just balancing and adding the mid-tones. I've gone in with a cream, the burnt ochre very, very lightly, the grey again. It's a really good idea to just build up through the layers so that you're filling in the troughs of the paper, because even though this is smooth paper, it's still got a lot of texture, and you will see that. If you see the graininess of the paper, it means you just haven't put enough layers down, so you need to add more and more, and that's why I go in with a lighter colour in between, because I think it really helps just to build up, filling in those troughs of the paper, and then you get a lovely soft smooth fur that you have control over where the texture is. So again, mapping in the texture of the fur, where the shadows are. As the fur folded over the leg, it created these like natural clumps, so I just map those in. And then going into the paws, one massive tip I would say for the paws is that don't see them as paws, don't try and draw paws. As soon as your brain engages and says, I need to draw like little fingers or paws, they end up looking really bizarre. So all I do is I was obviously going in with the rest of the coat here, same colours I'd used before, burnt ochre, terracotta, caput mortum violet, normal caput mortum, cinnamon. But then the tip is to look at the shapes and look at the colours that you're going to be putting in before you let your brain engage with what you're drawing. Trust the process. So going in light to dark, adding in the shadows. I'm really trying not to think about them as paws. I'm just going in and darkening where needs to be dark. What shapes are they creating? How dark do they need to go? Not thinking about really whether it's a claw or not. I'm going in and just looking to see, oh look, there's a triangle there, or there's a square there, filling that in. And then once you take a step back, it tends to just work, it fits together. If I really try, it's a bit like drawing hands. You'll hear people say that they turn into sausages all the time. It's a very, very similar thing, because your brain, or you think you know what they look like, and then the realism of that is actually very, very different. So just concentrate on shapes and colours that you can see, and trust the process, and know that they will actually come out looking okay if you just keep looking at your reference photo. Keep observing, maybe look twice and draw once, and then moving on to the rest of the body. Once the paws were in, I might need to balance those a little bit. I normally tend to get the drawing about 85 to 90% done in a section, move on to the next section as I'm doing here, and then I'll go back and just balance everything out. This is the last part of the drawing now. I know I've got the tail to do, but the fur, I'm starting to become quite confident with what I'm doing. I know what colours to use because I've used them in the rest of the drawing. I normally put them to the side so they're there. Building up slowly, softening in between the layers with a lighter pencil, and then glazing over the top with the dark sepia, the caput mortum, just to darken the fur where the light is not hitting. So the light was hitting the top of the leg, and then it was a lot darker further down. I'm adding the darkness to the body, and then going in and just mapping in the tail, little squiggly lines, taking my time, little wiggly. This was so much fun to create. Adding as many layers as I can just to fill it out, just to bulk it out, and it started looking a lot more like a tail, darkening up with caput mortum violet. But I think less is more with this one, really trying not to add too much, but making sure that the values were okay. And here's the finished squirrel. It's a bit difficult to zoom out. This is quite a big piece, so just showing you the details here and how it's all looking together. The little face, the beady eyes, and the fur texture going down to the leg. I hope you found this video helpful, and you can take those tips into your next drawing, or even the one that you're working on. If you'd like to see this full tutorial, I do have it available on my Patreon page, and I will leave the description in the box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and to turn the bell notification on so that you're notified of future videos just like this one. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.